It's the end of the day with Ray. I got to be honest with you folks, if you're in the document imaging channel, I believe this could probably be one of the best videos I presented to you in a long, long time. I got my good friend, the CEO and founder of a company in Nashville, Tennessee called ImageQuest LLC. And I had the fortunate pleasure of spending 2 years with Milton as a COO. I've been away from Milton for about 4 years. He crossed a milestone, called me up, and I said, Milton, I got to get you on the end of the day with Ray. Milton, it's fantastic having you. How you doing, buddy?
Ditto, Ray. I'm doing fantastic. Can't believe that it's already going to be fall here in 2 weeks and that 2020 is almost over, but I'll take that at this point.
Well, it's been a crazy year, that's for damn sure, and I can't wait to come down there and visit you all down there in Nashville. But Milton, you know, I've been amazed at what you've done with an IT services company. And for those of you that don't know, when I was with Milton 4 years ago, he had just finished off selling off his print business, and he took a print company, transitioned it to a full-blown IT security and services firm, and it's just been a home run. I mean, he's the best transition I've ever seen. So I want to be able to share with our friends a little bit about that success. I want to share with our friends there is hope for them to do this, but they're not going to do it if they continue to do it the way they've been doing it, which has basically been a miserable failure for the most part. So Milton, the first question I want to ask you is how many accounts do you have right now that pay you a reoccurring monthly fee?
Reoccurring monthly fee, I've got 63 fully managed IT clients, an additional 16 fully managed compliance as a service clients, and then I've got 7 of those managed IT clients that also have a compliance contract, so that makes it a total of 23 compliance contracts.
That's phenomenal. So see, folks, I think a lot of our friends in the Imaging Channel, Milton, I know this was when me and you were visiting with these folks years ago, but they always seem to think this is some big market share business. We're going to go sell IT services to thousands of customers, give them all a different service, lose our ass, and it's never going to work. Or we could focus on the right persona, the right customer, bill that customer the appropriate amount of money to give us the EBITDA that we need to run our business so that all the rest of the customers don't suffer from stupidity. So let me ask you a question, Milton. What's the average reoccurring revenue of your customers right now?
For right now, the average reoccurring revenue across both disciplines, so that's IT management and compliance management, is about $6,300 per month.
$6,300 a month, and we have folks out there that complain that $2,500 is a month too much. So let me ask you this question. What's the least amount of revenue in services that's acceptable to ImageQuest to even have a customer?
Well, so we have obviously grandfathered in accounts that don't meet this criteria, but today we have a hard floor at $5,000 a month in recurring revenue. We won't take an account that doesn't have that number. And it's not because those accounts smaller than that don't deserve good support. They do. It's just because the engine that we built, the factory that we've got that's producing IT services is geared towards a certain size. And if you can't meet that size, we're not going to be a good fit.
Okay, so we got your floor at $5,000 going forward. You got some grandfathered in. What's the highest revenue per month, if you don't mind sharing that number? But what's the highest revenue per month of one of your customers?
I've got several in the $40,000 a month range. So by several, I mean more than 3.
Okay.
And I've got one that's over $50,000 a month.
Okay.
I think I've got 10 that are over $10,000 a month.
Okay.
In recurring revenue.
And that's phenomenal. So let me ask you this: what's the persona of the ImageQuest customer? I mean, we got our friends out here looking at this, saying, "Who the hell's he selling this stuff to?" So who's your customer?
Good question. So as we looking at our target client profile, to steal a term from Service Leadership and Paul Dipple, we're looking for customers that are 100 to 500 employees, so that mid-market.
Okay.
And we're looking for businesses that are in a regulated industry, and we really focus on 3 major regulated industries. So financial services, which are your community banks, and your mortgage companies, and your title companies, and your large wealth management, money management firms. Our second is non-patient facing healthcare. So healthcare software as a service, healthcare back office operations, healthcare insurance processing, that type of thing. And then our third is law firms who in and of themselves aren't regulated, but they represent regulated clients. Therefore, they act like regulated companies, or they should act like regulated companies.
Let me ask you this: this compliance piece that you do, because that's one of your buckets, if you will. That's a business model you have. How do you do that? I mean, what's the manpower for that, and what's the difference between a compliance deliverable on its own or a IT security deliverable, or even IT services? I mean, what makes you different in the market?
Oh, that's a good question. So we see a lot in the marketplace, especially through marketing, our competitors and a lot of these master marketers that are out there teaching IT companies how to sell their services. They've taken things that we as IT companies do every day for customers, and they've repackaged it and called it managed security services. And they've tried to either charge more for it or at least highlight it better.
Mm-hmm.
And managed security services is literally just things we're already doing. I'm managing your firewall, I'm managing your antivirus software. I mean, you remember this when you were here, Ray. You know, we have a standard stack of things that we put on a client's PCs and servers to manage the security piece. And a lot of folks have gotten into the cybersecurity business because there's dollars attached to cybersecurity, right? So we obviously do all those things. We chose not to repackage that and call it something different. It is part of our core deliverable, and we didn't want to dilute that.
Okay. But
we started 4 years ago an actual compliance business, a consulting practice inside of ImageQuest. And the people who do that work are not IT folks. I've got one IT guy on the team, but the large number of people on that team are truly consultants that have an expertise in financial services consulting. They've been through banking regulatory audits. They are experts in HIPAA. Maybe they have a master's degree in healthcare administration with a focus in HIPAA management or HIPAA compliance. I've got those folks on the team, and they're going into a regulated client and doing a separate engagement away from IT where they're actually helping them with their compliance initiatives, risk assessments, writing policies and procedures, testing efficacy of those risk assessments and policies and procedures, choosing the right partner for penetration testing and vendor management. Vendor management's a good one, but also vulnerability assessments, and then helping with the remediation of those things. And these are usually larger engagements with larger clients, people that we don't do IT for. As I said, I have an overlap of 7, but most of these are much larger engagements than we would ever do the IT with.
Are these national engagements, or are they all in Nashville?
No, I've got them all over the country. I have a strategic relationship with a company in New York, a peer of mine that I've known for many years, and they have referred us a lot of their larger clients. And so we have a nice little niche of financial management clients and a large marketing firm in New York that are our clients.
Well, you know, you do something a little bit different, so I want to make sure I got this right. But it seems to me that you have a reoccurring revenue model for the compliance piece. Can you explain that a little bit and how that works? Because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so Ray, you probably remember this because you kind of helped the framework of this back in 2016, early 2016, when we were putting this together. So what we recognized is, you know, the large consulting companies that we're competing against, which, you know, believe it or not, it can be Deloitte, can be Accenture, can be a large regional consulting company like maybe a Markham. They are coming in typically and quoting an engagement fee. Let's just say it's a $40,000 engagement. And they're saying, hey, it's $40,000 engagement, pay us $20,000 up front. We'll send our people in, we'll do the work over 90, 120 days. We'll provide the deliverables. At the end of that, you know, we'll send you a bill for the balance, the other 20,000 plus expenses. Well, we looked at it a little bit differently, and we said a couple of things. One is, I've got to pay my people every month, year-round, and I'd rather have a consistent cost and a consistent revenue model. It's what makes sense to me. I love recurring revenue for that reason. And also for the client, we know they've got to do these things every year, and so is it easier to go in and talk to them about an operating budget line item or a capital budget line item that they have to get reapproved every year? And we thought operating made more sense. Many clients did as well. And so we just took that same $40,000, for example. Let's say there's $5,000 expenses. We take that $45,000, divide by 12, and come back to that client with a $3,850 monthly engagement, for example, and say, hey, we're going to do all the same work that Deloitte was going to do. Instead of writing me a $20,000 check, just give me $3,850 a month for 12 months. And, oh, by the way, if we do a good job, you're just going to renew that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. You just set yourself up for the next year. Well, Milton, you know, you're doing some crazy stuff down there, and I hate to say crazy. You're doing some smart stuff down there. I know you're a Paul Dipple fan. I hope that's still true, because we were Paul Dipple disciples when I was with you. And I mean, he understands the business, and I get so frustrated. I was talking to someone in the imaging channel, and they said, yeah, we listened to Paul Dipple once, but he's too complicated. I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't be selling IT then. So Milton, not only do you get some advice from Paul Dipple because you're still engaged with him, but what about Gary Pika? Do you do anything with Gary?
No, I haven't done anything with Gary for many, many years. Okay. I think you and I used one of his platforms maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but I've not talked to him since.
Okay, because he had a pretty good platform too, and I just think it's important for our friends to at least look out there, people that understand IT and that are actually successful in delivering it. But have you had any of our friends in the Imaging channel? You know, you came out of Rico, you got the toner in your blood, as they say. You know, are they still calling you up saying, Milton, how are you doing this? Or do they all give up on you?
I get fewer of those questions now, but I do keep in touch with a lot of those folks, and I do get folks who reach out to me through LinkedIn, or they'll email me or text me, want to know how we're doing. They like to brag about how they're doing, which I love to hear, by the way. I love it when somebody is successful, and especially if they listen to something you and I had to say to them 4 or 5 years ago, and they turn into, that's like our friends in Indiana have. But back to Paul Dipple, I think what he presents is complicated, but for a good reason. What we're delivering is complicated.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't need us. Everybody would do it. And to do this properly and to do it with best-in-class margins and best-in-class EBIT, it is a complicated model. It's very complex, and there are a lot of moving parts. The cost structures around labor make all the difference in the world here, but they also make all the difference in the world in your ability to deliver consistent service to your clients.
Well, Milton, one of the things you've always been good at, because he did hire me at one point, but you've always been good at bringing in the right human capital. It sounds like you're still doing that. That's really important to your deliverable. I know you got some quality people from the server admins all the way to your help desk. Milton does have his own help desk for those that were asked that question. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Because, when I was with you, we were with a couple of different master service providers. We decided to do this on our own. That was 4 years ago. I thought it was probably the best thing we ever did when we did it. But 4 years later, are you still happy with that decision? Are you giving your customers the service that are above their expectations?
I'll answer that question in two ways. So first, I'll say yes. And yes, you and I both remember this well, Ray, and you probably remember the same meeting I do. Rick Fuqua, who at the time was the CIO of Smile Direct Club, so a little plug to a Nashville-based company here that was an ImageQuest client in their infancy. Now they're a national brand doing great things. But when Rick Fuqua came and sat right in our conference room and looked you and me in the eye and said, look, those folks that were calling on the phone at the help desk in Pennsylvania are great. If I want to call up and talk about the weather or Pittsburgh Steelers or the Philadelphia Phillies, they're my first phone call. But if I need IT help, I can't call them. I need you guys to figure out how to bring this in-house. And I remember that meeting very well because, he had an opportunity to come in and just basically tell us we weren't doing a good job and fire us. But instead, he saw the value of ImageQuest and value of the relationship. And he said, hey, we like you. We want you to answer the phone. We don't want to talk to somebody in Pennsylvania when we call them. And that was an eye-opening moment for us. So you and I sat there and Rick left the room that day. And, that was in October of 2015. And on December the 31st of 2015, so just 2.5 months later, we had our final test run. And on Monday, January the 4th of 2016, we went live with the help desk in-house. And we've never looked back. So I'll come back and answer your original question. Yes, we are offering great service to our clients. I think we are as good or better than anyone in the marketplace. Is it as good as I want it to be? No, and it probably never will be. I have hired really good people. We continue to do that. We continue to pour resources into their training and development, and we're always looking at our process and ripping it apart and putting it back together. And I just quoted my good friend Carl Sills this morning from my Rico days.
Okay.
When I used to work for Carl, he used to say, I'm going to go to the deer stand this weekend, and I'm going to tear the business apart and put it back together in my head. And sure enough, he'd come back on Monday morning, and there would be something for us to change about the business, but it always made us better. And so I'm trying to do the same thing here at ImageQuest is how do we look at our service deliverable, figure out what works, pluck that out, make it better, figure out what doesn't work, pluck that out, and either replace it or refine it.
Well, we won't take all day on this video, but I will tell you that $500,000 was the milestone. So you crossed the $500,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. Big old congratulations. I wish I could high-five you through the TV thing here, but that's a fantastic thing, Milton. When I was with you, we were doing about 25 cents on the dollar for services and hardware. Because everybody still wants to figure out if they're going to sell anything. Is that still about the same number?
It is, yeah. It's amazing how consistent that number has been, Ray, all the way back. And I've kept, my numbers since 2011, I think we go back. And so really, if you take that number from 2011 to 2020, for every dollar of recurring revenue we sell in a year, we sell an additional 25 cents worth of hardware and project services.
Okay.
And it's just amazing that number is still right at that 25% mark.
Well, I think there's two reasons. You're very focused on the persona of the customer. And, I did the old analogy. You can't have a customer that drives a Chevy needing service from you because their expectations and their service deliverably is a whole lot different than the person that just drove up behind them in a Lamborghini. And, you've always been the guy going after that Lamborghini customer. I think that was a great business model. We used to call it the Mercedes-Benz or the chocolate cake, all that good stuff. But, Milton, I'm super proud of you and the team down there in Nashville. I can't wait to come and see you. Hopefully my friends in the Document Imaging channel have learned some things that this isn't, first of all, it's not easy. You're not going to get into IT because you have great relationships that bought a copier from you. You're not going to get into IT services because you got the greatest salespeople in the world that sold a bunch of copy machines. You're going to get into IT services because you make a conscious effort to change your business like Milton did, and we used to track it. We want that revenue for IT to cross the revenue for print, and as soon as it did, we decided to sell the print business off to another dealer, so that's how you diversified. But great stuff. Hey, are you going to start selling print now that I think your 3 years is up, right?
Well, no, it's a 5 years, so I got 7 months to go, and I can promise you, no is the answer to that.
Yeah. But you know what? Let me ask you this question, Milton. Those IT services customers that you have that need print, are you controlling that?
We do control it. We control it through a couple of strategic relationships with some large independent copy readers.
But you're controlling it. That's the difference. And that's what the imaging channel has to pay attention to, because as more of these companies start listening more and more to their IT service providers, they might not want to sell print, but they can damn sure control what the customer buys and how they buy it. Milton, it's always a pleasure having you on the end of the day with Ray, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.